All right, this should work. I'm trying things with a new device and it's not working very well. Oh well. Cool. So, new month, new things. I spoke a bunch with Crimson Clad, who asked me if I could take a look at the Rosetta API. So, I looked into it. I know we looked into it a while ago, like a year ish. Um, and the API hasn't changed much, although the difference is that now we have half, which may be helpful for some of the situations. But most of the what the API requires is mostly like Coinbase stuff. So I mean exchange stuff, let's say. So get the balances of things, submitting a transaction, getting all of the transaction within a specific block, things like this, which is not very difficult. But also it requires submitting transactions to the blockchain as well, and all of that wrapped into like a custom, um, not front end but like front end API, let's say. So I'm working on that, and all of that needs to be wrapped into one neat little container. So that's gonna be a little project for probably a month or two.
Okay,
Uh,
what language are you working in?
I might. Well, either I do it through a Hive-D plugin, or I might just do that in Python or JavaScript.
Okay.
JavaScript may work because it has the most support for. I mean, it's the most up-to-date support for our um, in regards to libraries.
Well, I was going to say if you're thinking about Python, you could look at the Wax library that Bartek's group is working on. I don't know,
Mm.
Bartek, do you think that would be appropriate for this or no?
Yes, if I understand correctly, we need just to process some incoming transactions and periodically broadcast our one. That's right, or I'm wrong?
Oh yeah, that's about it.
So I think the best environment to do that is actually right now a TypeScript version or JavaScript version of Wax. Also, it could be possible by Python, but we don't have their Python interface defined well, and it can be improved in near future.
Mm.
So probably you can break some things if you would use it. But I hope using TypeScript interface will be very easy for you. And as an example, we can pass you some bot implementation we did for some example purposes, which actively using such block scanning and also can broadcast voting transactions. I will contact with you on your private channel and will send links to that.
All right, that sounds good.
Also, if you will have some questions related to working with that, of course, we can discuss it. Such environment also encapsulates a tool which is able to manage private keys used to signing transactions. And that tool is called Beekeeper. It is also compiled into WebAssembly environment and directly available inside web browser or Node.js environment, so you can easily run it.
Yeah, I see. That's interesting. Also, I noticed yesterday evening that my merge request is blocked due to the recent change. So I'll need to rebase that, but I don't suspect it will be that difficult. And everything else, I mean, as soon as I fix that, I should be back to ready for review. I did the bitwise mask filter you asked me, Bartek. It is a much
Mhm.
better data storage solution. Thanks for the
Yes,
suggestion.
yes, yes. Actually, we were all focused on making a release version, and probably it was not intentional to make one more additional change just right now. So probably that's quite good
Yeah.
that we
It,
skip
it was
it.
my decision to hold off. We just want to get our release out badly right now, so I don't want any more changes right now. We'll slip it in the next release.
Yeah, I'm not really in a rush,
Yeah.
and it's mostly beneficial for us and for further HiveMind development later. But for I mean, for now, getting the new communities and all of the improvements up takes a priority for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, we have also some work to be done at HiveMind site, and I'm not sure who should do it, our team or you, Ho, if you will find resources, because we prepared in the past some prototype of reputation tracker, a dedicated application which is able to calculate reputations in a way Hive does. And lately, one of our engineers improved it enough, probably to be used at HiveMind site. What I hope significantly speed up sync and eliminate a lot of data which needs to be accumulated while syncing just to perform such reputation calculations at the end. So probably in next months, we would like to drop this old code from HiveMind and replace it with reputation tracker application. So if you would be interested in such work, also I think it will be good part for you, and maybe also you will learn something more about Hive applications and playing with them.
Yeah. So the basically the goal is removing all of the reputation code and then calling the related Hive application, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. But Hiveband itself requires reputation data because
Yeah.
their their APIs require that, and in this way, we can immediately calculate reputation data by reusing tracker application, and because everything is stored in the same database, allow Hivemind to read that data and provide them through its API.
I guess my only concern about that is I feel like we need to revisit the massive sync portion of, and even the live sync portion of HiveMind
Yes,
in
yes,
light of.
yes. That's of course another need, but definitely much more complex. And
Yeah, that's I'm concerned about. My only point is I was afraid that might get in. If I didn't know if that would get in the way of doing the reputation tracker change, but maybe it doesn't. But it was just a concern I had that.
yes, of course, that's only one of my ideas related to HiveMind development.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's a fine one. I don't know if it should come after or before we do the cleanup of HiveMind syncing in general. So just to explain that a little bit more, the current HiveMind was optimized for a totally different way of getting data. It used to pull data from HiveD, and now that it's pulling the data, it's just reading the data from the database. That code we just did a quick patch a long time ago to make it work with Half, and so it's not ideally designed for Half at this point, the syncing process inside HiveMind. So that's something that needs to be fixed, and we've known about it for a while. Just been too busy to really get to it, and it's not a simple matter. I don't know if you had anything else more, Hawa, or did I? It sounded like you were probably.
No, that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, you can go.
Okay. So, as a bunch of you guys probably already know, we released a release candidate 7 last week, and I'm pretty sure this will basically be the last release candidate. We found a few more changes to make, but they're really relatively minor. One is that we found that when we restarted Hive, it was overwriting the old log, which is it's always been that behavior, but it's more annoying inside the Half API node environment because it's an environment where we expect to take down and bring up Hive-D more often. So we don't want to accidentally overwrite logs in that process. So even though that was the standard behavior, we're basically changing that for the Half API node. So we added a new option to Hive-D that allows it to either append or overwrite. And in the Half API node repo, we're setting it up so that the default, or actually it's in the half repo, we're setting up so that the default behavior is to always do an append instead of overwriting the old log. So that's probably, I think, will be the last change that we do for half or even any of the other applications. So I've been doing a lot of testing this week on the RC7, and it looks pretty solid to me. Everything, I haven't found any problems yet. The last thing we need to do is still deploy the latest RC7 replay on our production system, and that's going to take a couple days. So first, we're setting up systems here that we can transfer our load to during the time we're upgrading. So I think probably by the end of the week, we will be there and we'll have production. We'll be running RC7 on our production, and hopefully shortly thereafter, we'll be able to take snapshots and upload them so people can directly download if anybody wants to, they can just directly download an already synced version of half and everything. Another thing we've done is ArcAnge was having some issues downloading the containers from GitLab. So we've set up a new container registry in the cloud, and it's much faster for downloading the containers. So I think ArcAnge said it was pretty fast for him. He can confirm that if that was true or not. But and he's saying yes. So the way it works is in the half API node script. By default, it now pulls containers from that faster repo. And as long as you're grabbing the released versions, that's fine. If you want to grab like a development version of a container, then you change to use the GitLab repo container instead. In other words, we're not pushing every single build. Every container we build is not being pushed to that fast repo, just the release candidates and releases. Let's see what else. So we're basically releasing all the half apps we've got, which means HiveMind, Balance Tracker, Block Explorer, and I guess what else?
Hafa. That is
Hafa. Thank you. Yeah, I often forget Hafa because it's kind of the default. You don't even have to replay it, so it's so much more convenient than the other ones. So everything's being released. And I think everything's at least in a reasonable spot. There's still obviously improvements we can make over time, and we're aware of things that can be improved, but I think it's a pretty functional state. We're running all this stuff on our production servers already. It's not RC7, it's RC6, but it's pretty similar. And then even there, the load profile is looking quite good. The machine it's amazing. We've got everything running now that used to be spread across 4 machines, and the load is just so much lower. So it's really a world difference in terms of performance. So let's see. So we're, like I said, I think we'll basically have the final release at the end of this week probably, and have, for people who don't want to do their own replays, we'll have the snapshots they can download probably the week after. A couple of people have done replays besides us. I think ArcAnge probably did a replay, and so did Deathwing. I don't think they've replayed completely, but they've replayed half. I don't believe I imagine they've still got some time before they'll replay HiveMind and HiveMind, I guess, because I doubt anybody else has replayed the half Block Explorer except us right now, because we didn't make that part of the default release.
So half replay is done, and now it's resyncing HiveMind. It's around 20 million blocks.
Okay, yeah, that's probably the slowest portion.
Yes, here we're also we're almost done with half, and we're gonna start HiveMind today.
Excellent.
No problems so far, so that's great. I mean, we faced tons of issues before, but now with RC7, I think it's going smoothly.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, I know Matayari ran into one problem on slower drives, but other than that, I don't think we haven't had too much problems, so it seems to be pretty smooth. Let's see, anything else? I guess so. After next week, we're already starting a little bit to start thinking about what we're going to do next. So we're basically creating a new milestone for post 127.5. So on GitLab, you can see we started to create some issues there for things we're looking at doing next. So one of the things we're looking at is basically light nodes. Basically, this will be some form of node where it doesn't store all the block log. And some work's already been done on that. It's not like a new, but it's been kept out of the development branch until after the release. And another thing I want to take a look at is going to be maybe some form of light accounts that we can support at the half level. I'm thinking maybe an app that would just provide that data. And so basically this would just be a way somebody could tie some kind of DID, if you will, basically a human readable account name to a key, and then basically we'd have an API for fetching and fetching those things and checking signatures and stuff like that. And of course, the other big thing we're going to start working on is basically building a special half app that basically is able to run smart contracts. So that'll be another thing we're looking at after we'll start scoping out the work after we do the release. So anyways, that's kind of the status as things go right now. I'll pass it on to anybody else who wants to talk about what they're doing.
I can go if.
Sure.
Okay, well, thank you. Great updates, Dan. Looking forward finally for this release to be out. It's been a few months, but yeah, I'm really excited. We've come a long way. So yeah, we'll give maybe quick updates about what we've been doing recently. So with ActiveIt, we've been doing a lot of collaborations with Hive Dapps. Just the most recent one, actually, today we collaborated with Splinterlands. Since last year, we started thinking about the whole ecosystem, and we wanted to provide our users with a full experience of Hive. The thing that we have in mind is that when a user comes to one of the dApps, we want them to stay for the others. So you come for fitness, you can create video content with TreeSpeak, you can view Splinterlands cards, you can do whatever you want to do on the Hive blockchain. You can use Posh, you can use whatever. So that's why we've done maybe 10 integrations since last year, and this year we started with a few updates on TreeSpeak. We've done integration with Waves by ECNC last month, and this month this is Splinterlands. I'm hopeful that many other dApps would follow the same suit, because it makes sense. We've had already a lot of users come from Splinterlands to ActiveIt, so we want to do the other way around. We want to get the users to stay on Hive. You might get bored from one thing, but if you have other options, you might just stay and explore other things to do. Probably many don't know this about ActiveIt, but we have, since last year, we have expanded our reach, not only about fitness. We support all the communities via our ActiveIt interfaces. You can do whatever you want. You can find all the communities. You can blog. You can vlog. You can whatever you want to do. You can do that with the ActiveIt experience. So that's something that we've been practically working on day in, day out. This month also we released new free sign-up options. I know many users complain about the sign-up options. We gave free sign-up options to our active users. So we're trying to get people who are really active to get free options to actually onboard users via an interface. So this was released also last month. We tried to Binance is a big player, whatever happened to Binance. So we tried to leverage this also, I think last week. We sent out free Hive to Binance users. We had, I think, 900 users claim free Hive. And we sent in a message saying, this is ActiveIt, we run on Hive. So if you want to earn some more Hive, some more AFIT tokens, some more whatever, you can just go sign up. And the signups have been booming on ActiveIt. We're happy to see more users come through.
How did you identify the Binance users?
Oh, there's a cool feature on the Binance app where you can just go and create what they call a rat packet. This rat packet, you can assign some Hive rewards to it, and you can set up how many users you want to make it eligible to.
Okay.
Yeah, so we made it eligible to up to 1,000 users, and it was crazy, man. It just like it flew. So everyone was just grabbing Hive, and I mean, when you get to know the project and you get to know the token name, you'll probably research things more about it, and just
Yeah. No, that sounds like a cool idea. I had no idea about that.
yeah. I told Crimson, she was very excited about it. I mean, I hope others will also use this, and we will probably plan to do this more often. So yeah, I mean, we're happy to see the inflow of users coming through. We get a lot of questions. We get a lot of excited users. Our usage personally as ActiveFit users, I mean, we're seeing a lot of growth this year. And I mean, I attribute this not only to us being a fitness platform, but because of all of Hive, with everything that we're doing, with all the integrations we're playing around with, and we're bringing more usage to other people. I mean, I'm just so happy and looking forward to more growth for Hive and, of course, for ActiveFit and the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So yeah, that's it.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Somebody else want to go next?
Yeah, I have a few questions regarding API nodes.
Mhm.
I would like to know when once you officially do a final release, what will you have to do with the existing nodes? Will we have to do a replay?
So there'll be two options really. One is to do a replay, and the other is just to download a snapshot. So when I say a snapshot here, I'm referring to a ZFS snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically its entire replayed version of half HiveMind, half Block Explorer. So it would be the whole thing. And so depending on people's machines, that may be a quite a bit faster way to do it. It really depends on what their system is, to whether they'll want to just replay it themselves or not. I think a full replay, I'm on a fast system right now, is probably like around 70, 80 hours for HiveMind, and then another, I'd say 16 to 20 hours for half. And that's assuming a replay. So that's assuming so we're probably talking at least 100 hours for a full up setup, if on what I would say is a reasonably fast machine. You could get our fastest machine can do better, but we've only got two machines in that class that can do faster than about 100 hours. So that's an option. Will be to download the ZFS, and you can kind of guess the snapshot size. It's basically going to be, I guess, somewhere on the order of just under 2 terabytes.
So you need a good connection.
Yeah,
and a good repository too.
Yeah, it will not be from GitLab. It'll be from the same server that you're downloading those container registries from.
Yeah,
we're going to put
so it will be a trade-off. You can trade your bandwidth for replay time with CPU and fast storage. It all depends what your server is good at. If you have really fast connection, then probably getting a snapshot would be the best. But if you have decent machine, replaying will be good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
4 days, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question I have: or do we connect directly to one of the components of the API node, like HiveMind, without passing by Caddy or so on? The goal is not to have any throttling applied to the connection. That's how I was used to do with Hive SQL, which has its own API node, and go directly to HiveD and so on to get information.
Well, you can certainly bypass Caddy on your server. I mean, Caddy shouldn't, but that's just a rate limiting thing, anyways. You can set different rate limits for different connections.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no real need, I don't think, to necessarily bypass Caddy. You could just make sure you're not rate limited for that connection. But yeah, you can also. So the way the stack is set up, it is possible to expose individual services inside the stack, and so we do that sometimes when say we're going to setting up a multi-system API node, then we might be running some of the server. So by default, we're kind of assuming now that you'll run the entire stack on one machine, but it's not designed so that's the only way to work. That's just kind of what we figure a lot of people will do. But for people who want to have a really powerful node or spread out the services more on the multiple machines, yeah, you can do that, and then you'd expose ports for individual services, and basically you use HA proxy to distribute the calls to the different services.
Okay. Do you plan to update the doc or write any post about it? Because for me currently it's a bit of a black box.
There's actually quite a lot of documentation in the half API node scripts themselves. If you look at the .env files, and then there's a lot. It's basically, it is almost the README. There's just instructions in the half API node scripts that say what to do this or do that or the other. I think there's also a description of the exposed stuff, which is documented in the README itself. There is one problem. There was a bug in Docker recently that broke some of the exposed stuff, but I think we're kind of just waiting for them to fix that. I mean, right now, the exposed stuff that we did that kind of automates the exposure mostly doesn't work. So what you can work around it by directly exposing ports inside your YAML files. So if that fix doesn't come out soon, yeah, I can publish some details about how to manually update your YAML files to expose ports. It's not much to it. You basically just add a couple lines to your YAML file to expose the port.
Okay, cool.
For whatever service you're trying to expose.
And we
do have like recommended ports for exposing, so that, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And one last question: how does the balance tracker works and how to access it? Is there already an existing API on top of it?
Yeah, there is. So first I should mention that. So when we built the half block explorer, it's an actual example of what we call I don't know what we'd call it, but like a nested app. So it's a half app that actually, if you run half block explorer, you automatically get balance tracker as part of it, because some of the data needed by block explorer is generated by the balance tracker. So what I expect, and when I'm expecting most people are probably going to deploy half a Hivemine and half block explorer, because frankly, half block explorer nowadays isn't that big. It used to be much bigger, but we shrunk it quite a bit. So that means you get balance tracker as part of that. And as far as the way the API looks, we have a separate Postgres T server, which is basically a server that is really nice for running over a Postgres database. It's called Postgres T. And we have one of those servers for each of the half apps. So there's one for the half block explorer. There's one for the balance tracker. Hivemine doesn't have one. Hivemine has its own older style web server based in Python. But for both of those, there's a Postgres T server, and you'll see it when you launch your stack with the servers component enabled. You'll see it launches these Postgres T processes. And so each one of those basically serves up the API for its component. So there is a separate API, even though when you run half a block explorer, it runs balance tracker as a subset of it. But you'll see two different Postgres T servers, one that supports the balance tracker API, one that supports the half block explorer API. And so if you want to look at the doc, basically they're documented just by looking at you'll see some SQL files called endpoints. It'll be something endpoints, and that'll have a list of all the API calls that are supported by that application.
Okay, perfect. That's all.
And I think our plan is, I don't know if we've got it done or not yet, but our plan eventually is to have like Swagger stuff pop up that'll basically give it into a web-based form, so you can just access it that way. But now I think the easiest thing to do is just look at those endpoints. I'll post a link afterwards in the develop channel in Mattermost or something. So with those are looking at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So along the same lines, I guess I'll mention. So there's also so we have the APIs, which are just provided by the half apps themselves, but there's also a UI associated with half block explorer. I don't believe we have a separate UI for balance tracker. I don't think we ever created one, but there is one for the block explorer, and we've been testing that quite a bit. And I think that's actually a reasonable state to release to. Somebody's saying block explorer failed on Hive 6. Okay, I'll look into that later. But anyways, the UIs I think is pretty much releasable at this point. So at the same time, release everything else, I expect we're going to release the UI as well. So that means anybody can then basically run up their own block explorer against any of the half API nodes that are running the new RC7 stack. So we'll kind of decentralize our entire half block explorer infrastructure. I mean, our block explorer infrastructure at that point. So which I think would be quite cool and something I've wanted to have done for a while.
I completely agree. I mean, we really want to get off the Hive blocks as the core source of the.
Yeah, I mean, Hive blocks has been great, but we need an open source solution, and we need one that anybody can run, so that we don't have to depend on one.
Absolutely, we're looking forward to running an instance. Absolutely.
Anybody else want to? Oh, Arcane's had something to say, I guess, or maybe not. Anyone else? Questions or just talk about what they've been working on?
I'll just very quickly say, I released yesterday the ability to store sats you sort of associated with your Hive account. Obviously, I'm holding them for now, but this is the interface to VSC later. So when wrapped sats come, I'll be able to take them in from Lightning and then pass them straight on to people on their own keys and their own account.
Oh, so, cool. Okay.
That's kind of the direction of travel that I'm working on with Vaultek and his guys and girls. It's kind of a big deal, I think, that because it gives us his whole thing of having wrapped Hive and then a link to Bitcoin. It's a link to their gigantic liquidity. So it's and it's like a Trojan horse because it gives us those links to places we're not already linked to.
Yeah, for sure. That's I think the whole wrap stuff is kind of exciting. So that's cool. Bartek, I don't know if you wanted to talk about any of the other stuff other than the RC7 stuff, because you're more aware of what's going on in terms of Wax and Clive and CLive and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly where we're at lately because I've been focused on the release of the other stuff.
Well, actually, Clive, maybe you have occasion to hear about it. It's our maybe not prototype, but by actually new version of CLI wallet, which is able to perform most of operations which need active key. I hope all operations missing which require active key will be completed in next month or two. And then we will focus on further improving of this application. Actually, this application has two forms. One is UI form, and we have decided to use console framework to show some textual windows and etc., which allow to much better show informations related to your accounts and performant operations. And second form of application is traditional CLI application, which is able to be used directly on command line. We have released several versions in last few months when you can observe progressing of features and new functions. So I hope you can try to use it soon. And second part actually of some low-level library which initially has been created for Clive purposes is such Wax library, which allows to simplify integrations to our blockchain and operating on it. As I said earlier, most of our features was developed already in TypeScript framework because we decided to implement some front-end side because there was completely lacking direct support of our features, and actually every Hive library which allowed some integrations to Hive duplicated logic and code similar to the one which is placed inside Hive protocol modules and blockchain itself. And WAX is some library which is able to share directly C++ code from blockchain and expose it to the web through WebAssembly technology. And finally, we want to form similar interface, which is right now designed in TypeScript, to the Python clients and use it also in our Clive application, where it is already used at some lower level. As I said, I will provide some information related to WAX on Dev channel, maybe right now much more directed to the HOO, which would like to try to use it. But of course, if you are actively developing front-end applications, it can be interesting for you because I hope designed interfaces are very developer friendly. And lately, when I tried to fastly develop script to find signators of some transaction in the blockchain, I just followed IntelliSense in VS Code to write my code, and it was quite nice. Even I'm not a front-end developer, so that was another aspect of well-designed interface. So I hope it will be interesting part of new activity which is performed by our team. And I also hope that we will be able to provide soon Python version of this library, because I know that Python scripting is also very important part of processing data and broadcasting transactions. So I hope it will be useful too.
You should definitely write a post about how you did that with looking for who signed a given transaction. That's a great use case.
Yes. I already put some snippet into WAX repository, but yes, definitely we need to describe what happens there and why we did that. Actually, it was my answer to one guy on Hive, which asked for help because he didn't know who overwritten his profile in account. And at the end, it seemed that it was himself.
Yeah, the sad answer. It was you.
Interesting if he did it intentionally or just someone got his keys, but that's another story.
That's true. Okay, anyone else got anything to discuss, or are we done for the day?
I will just provide you with a quick feedback about Hive SQL. So I think yesterday everything was back available with Hive SQL. All the services I run around it are back available too. It was a lot of work. On top of that, there was a lot of things because we had a hackathon in an Indian university.
Oh yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know that, of course, we have done a full assessment of what happens, how it happened, and so on. So I've upgraded all my disaster recovery procedure. So this should not be happen anymore.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah, we have improved a lot of things. It's been up and running for 8 years now.
Yeah, if you want to share anything you've done in terms of hardening your system, I mean, in maybe the Mattermost channel, I think a lot of people would be probably interested.
Yeah, I think I will write a post, something like a disaster recovery chronicle to share the story. But it's
Did you ever figure out, Arkansh, how the attack happened? I mean, kudos on recovering so fast, but I mean, were you able to track how this incident happened? I mean, how did the attacker cause this issue?
I'm in between sharing that kind of information because to explain how it happens, I should expose how the infrastructure is is made, and sharing that kind of information is sensitive. But I will try to explain. Mainly, I had one host that is connected to all the servers that do the backup, and that is connected to the backups. And this host was hacked.
Okay, makes sense.
And the thing was that when I designed the infrastructure at that time, I had not a good bandwidth enough to do full backups every day offsite. So some backups were isolated, but not all. And that's what I improved. That was backups mainly. That would have allowed me to recover faster. But even with offsite backups, it took me 7 days to upload the backup I got back to the infrastructures, because we have asymmetric bandwidth, so we can download quite fast. But when you go to upload a lot of data, it takes time.
Yeah.
That's it. And another good news is that probably tomorrow I will release the iOS version of iVooV, the iVooV mobile app. So we will now have Android and iOS mobile app for iVooV.
And that's the one that Sagar worked on?
Sorry?
That's the one
that's the one that I work with Sagar. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
It was in the pipe to be released sooner, but then the shit happens.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thanks, guys. Good talking to you.
Thank you for the update, guys. Looking forward.
Good day. Bye.